how much money would I have before I felt rich? Um, Maybe like a $500,000. I feel like with that amount of money, I could not only pay off all of my current debt, but also like invest in something to continue making gains off of that amount of money, and be able to help like people close to me, like my mother, my close friends, and get their lives a little bit better. What's the best job I've ever had? The one where I'm working right now. I work at a gay resort. We run programming that provides education, helps make a sense of community in other gay men, which is really lacking right now because of like apps like Grinder, stuff like that. I feel like I can really help people by providing a safe and stable environment that is also easy to navigate with the use of technology. Um, I'm just I feel myself doing things that help people or help accomplish the idea of helping people every day where I work right now, which is something that's incredibly fulfilling. So I'm very, very glad to be able to say that. What's a skill I wished I learned but never did? Um, I would have loved to like play the flute or play some sort of instrument, and learn more about how to do that. But I guess it's just something that never really super appealed to me enough to make me buy an instrument and play and practice it every day. I think it would be cool to be able to do that, but I think ultimately my heart lays elsewhere. And I think I'm already like kind of doing what I find fulfilling, but playing an instrument would have been nice. When I was growing up, what did I want to be? I wanted to be a chef. Well, first I wanted to be a wizard, but then I wanted to be a chef because as a child I was kind of enchanted by the kitchen, and fascinated by like the stove and like what it takes to be able to feed a family and what it takes to make something that tastes good. And that kind of went away as I grew older. As I grew, I suppose, more jaded. I had always liked video games, so instead I turned to what if I was a video game developer? Like, surely I'd really enjoy something like that and like giving back to the industry that made my childhood bearable. Um, but when it came time to go to college, um, the industry was already really hard on people, and I knew I wasn't going to be a person who enjoyed crunch time in the video game industry. I knew I wasn't probably even gonna get a job with a studio in such a hotly contested industry. So I instead elected to go the computer science route, and see if I could work my way into it there. If not, I at least had a fallback plan. But as I went through college, I really enjoyed software development and IT as just as it was, and it has turned into something that's fulfilling already. What are the best things in life? Um, Food, companionship, um, and adrenaline rushes. Um, Trying something new. Those are the best things in life. Um, Sharing a meal with friends. It's a good one. And like really like digging deep into what makes you you and what you really think about something. That's always been something that I've really enjoyed. How many close friends do I have? Only like one or two. Um, while I really enjoy being open with people and opening my heart and being vulnerable, there are only so many people who are prepared to return that energy and to really be interested in who you are. Um, so only one or two people. Um, I don't really have time for anything less. Do I miss being a child? No, no. Being a child sucked. Having to go to school every day sucked. Hated it. Um, Not having agency and freedom to do things, absolutely hated that. Being controlled by my parents and having to deal with their mess every day, would not go back. Um, sure, I had less responsibility, but I have more capacity to enjoy life now as an adult. So you win some, you lose some, but I think I won a lot more some as an adult. If I ruled the world, what are three things I would change? Um, I would definitely overhaul infrastructure, make sure that train lines, roads, and other sorts of public transportation were made really efficient. Um, and I would make things really cheap to transport. Um, I would put a much higher focus on combating climate change. Um, and that takes many forms in like uh, managing water more effectively, investigating desalination, removing what carbon we can from the atmosphere and preventing more from being put into it. Um, and if lastly, I would probably improve the social. And lastly, I'd probably improve the social safety net for everyone. One thing I would probably do is universal basic income, because if you really boil down social safety nets, like regulation can make it really hard to access. Um, and you know what? It might not be the perfect solution, but I think over time, if you play with it a little bit, it could be really successful. Whether that is matching the pace of inflation or I don't know. Economics is not my forte. So I would, if I ruled the world and wanted to do universal basic income, I would definitely have a cabinet of economists to advise me on how to make things easier for everyone. So if I could be any animal, what would I choose? Um, a cat. Because they get pets, they get fed, they're soft and fluffy, and they rest all day and sleep all day and have an interesting social life with other cats. So that's probably the animal I would pick. Do I think I'm a good person? I I don't know. I try my best to be a good person, um, but sometimes I feel like it's not enough. Um, I think that in order to be a good person, you need to constantly be able to evaluate yourself and see how you're making others feel. Um, and I want to be a good person, um, and I am on that journey of seeing how I affect others and trying to improve myself and be a more virtuous person. Um, but as of right now, I can't really say yes or no. I mean, we all make mistakes. Um, but at what point does that become being a bad person? How many mistakes can a good person make? I don't have these answers. What does success mean to you? A lot of people think that success is about money or about family or about power. Um, but to me, success is about fulfillment. Um, if having $1 million will make you happy on your deathbed, sure. If having a huge family um, will comfort you when you're dying in your last moments, great. Um, all I really want out of life, um, all I really need to feel successful is to do what I really want and to not feel constrained by, you know, reality, life as it is. Um, let me let me go back a little bit on that one. I guess what would really make me fulfilled is just the freedom to experience what I want to experience. Why do people fail at things? That feels like such a loaded question. So I would say that's really hard to say. People can fail at things for any reason, and I feel like saying like a blanket statement about why people fail at things can be alienating to so many people. Um, so I think people can fail at things for any reason. I mean, if I say you're failing or people fail at things because they're not trying hard enough, I don't know how hard that person tried. I don't know what kind of effort and will that person summoned up in order to try to get something completed. Um, I, I I cannot know, um, and that was something that haunted me for a really long time. Um, the feeling of not being good enough because I didn't try, or because I could have done something better. No, I think perhaps at some deepest level, people fail at things because it's not something that would really make them happy. Something that they, somewhere on the deepest level, they never really wanted for themselves in the first place. What do I think my purpose is? I don't think I have a purpose. Um, and that is terrifying and comforting at the same time because I have ultimate freedom. Um, because I'm not constrained by fate or a divinely assigned purpose. But it's also terrifying because I have complete freedom. And I don't have a divinely inspired purpose. Um, so I guess we choose our own purpose, and I from a young age, I suppose I have made my purpose helping other people and trying to enjoy life as much as I can while I still have it. Um, Whether that is taking a job that helps people or doing work that helps people, and like having the ability to go to Cancun or to Canada or to travel or to have really deep connections with people. It it runs the gamut. What's one regret I have? Not one, but probably the most common regret in my life is trying to help people, putting my nose where it doesn't belong, and making a situation worse for the person I was intending to help. Um, it definitely takes restraint to not try to involve myself into what I see as a problem and prescribe a solution. Um, I guess truly helping people is meeting people where they're at and listening to what they want and respecting what they want and where they're at. Um, because I mean, when I do that, when I stick my nose into things, and when I prescribe solutions, that's when people get alienated, people get hurt. I make situations worse. Um, so yeah, I definitely regret sticking my nose in where it doesn't belong. Who in my life do I think loves me the most? Probably, probably my parents. Um, I would say that those two probably have, or three, have a strong attachment to me. They want to see me do well. They want to see me successful. I keep hearing that there's this love that only a parent can have for their child, um, and I don't doubt it. And what ways do I feel privileged? Um, it's hard to feel privileged, but I recognize that I have privilege in being the same color as most people are, or at least roughly a majority of the people are. Um, I feel privileged in that I was able to go to school. I didn't have my way paid for me, but still, even having the ability to go to school is something. Um, I feel privileged to live among people that are like me, like queer men. Um, and I'm certain there are other things that I feel privileged, or that I am privileged to be, um, but I couldn't tell you what they are without a lengthy discussion with others. If I could live this exact same life again, would I? Yeah. Um, it's been so full of meaning, um, and I don't think I would have it any other way. The mistakes, the things that I learn, um, I couldn't imagine myself trying to go back and do it better. I mean, of course, I would want to do better, but what what would that really mean for me, my development, and I don't know. I don't think I would change anything. I like where I'm at. I like what I'm at. Well, I don't really like what I've experienced, but I don't think I would change it because I have learned a lot. And I'm grateful for that. Am I happy? I don't know. I have a nice job. I have stuff coming up in the future for me. I mean, the world is kind of falling apart around me otherwise. Like, I'm not even sure I know what it means to be happy. Um, does that mean never being bored? Does that mean never being sad? Does that mean being satisfied and fulfilled where I'm at in my life? Does it mean always feeling good? More and more, I think perhaps that's an impossible goal. And happy is a state of mind. Um, so perhaps then, in that sense, I am happy. Um, because I feel pretty fulfilled, pretty satisfied. I have some hope for the future. Um, so I suppose in that way I'm happy. What would I say to my younger self? Oh God, it depends on how young we go, but if I were to go to, let's say, my middle school self, because then I was having a really hard time with something I call in my life the year of anxiety. It was a year, pretty much roughly a year of my life where I had anxiety attacks almost every day. I didn't know what was going on with that. I didn't know what was going on with my body. I didn't really have the coping skills to really deal with it, so I was suffering a lot. And that was a really dark time in my life. And I largely think it was due to having to leave my best friend and transitioning into high school. And I would like to come to him with a message of hope, and say that it does get better. It will get better. And you're going to do such great things. You're going to have so many reasons to keep going. I promise you. And kind of give him that encouragement. And let him know that even when all seems lost, it's not. And to just trust yourself. You will be okay. How do I feel about my own mortality? As a kid, I felt it acutely. That may have something to do with my anxiety at growing up, but who knows? Um, it's sad that eventually my world, the way I perceive things, my experience will be extinguished. But it's inevitable. If I really think about it, I wouldn't want to live forever anyway. And I don't necessarily think that death gives meaning to life. I, I, I think that it's kind of like a cop out, because you could assign your own meaning to life anyway, even if you live forever. But I would be so afraid of getting bored. living can be far more terrifying than dying. So I don't feel too bad. When I think about dying, I'm not sure if I'm inured to the thought or if I have just gotten to be an expert at avoiding the thoughts and feelings about it in my mind. But I don't think I'm afraid of death. I think I'm afraid of the pain of death. And I don't even really think I'm afraid of not knowing. Because it's inevitable. My body will break down, or I will suffer an injury so grievous that I die one day. And I prefer it that way. When I die, how do I want to be celebrated? If not for my own vanity, I would like a service. But I think I would want to be like given to nature or something, or cremated, and like spread in nature so I could, in my death, provide nutrients for the world of life, trees. I would like people to reflect on me. But I guess I don't really have a say in that. Whoever would mourn me, I would want them to take time to reflect on me, but also be able to move on and be able to celebrate my life, what I meant to them, and be able to put that pain to bed. Grief is probably the worst pain a person can experience, and I wouldn't want people going through that for my sake. I want to have meaning to people, but I don't want to be a burden. So if I had a partner, I'd want them to move on. If my parents are still alive when I die, I would want them to move on. There's no meaning in what ifs and stewing and what have you about somebody's life now gone by. You deal with it and you're done. And I hope people can do that when it comes to me. What is a food everyone should try? General Tso's chicken from any Chinese American restaurant near you. It's one of my favorite foods. And everyone should know what it tastes like. I think very few people would dislike somewhat sweet and spicy fried chicken, like pieces of white meat, and like rice and stuff. It's really good. Definitely everyone should try it. And what is the silliest face I know how to make? You're not getting it. Sorry.